Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Collected Clicks podcast. This is your host, Brandon Bateman, and today I have Matt Kamp from DealMachine on the podcast. Matt and I talk a lot about different data opportunities in the real estate investing space, what's going on with AI right now, where he sees that going, and some of the products that DealMachine has to help with that. I think it's pretty cool what they've been doing recently. I'll see you there. Matt, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Doing great, Brandon. I'm excited to be on, man.
Yeah, excited too. And we've known each other for how many years? It's been at least
a handful. Yeah, three or four, I would say. Yeah.
So excited to finally get you on the podcast after
right?
a long time coming. So for those that don't know you, explain who are you? Where do you come from? What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So based out of St. Louis, Missouri, doing deals locally here. So always looking to meet people and team up here. But I run partnerships over at DealMachine. Been a part of DealMachine for 4 coming up on 5 years now. We met through Collective Genius, one of the networking events. So I know we're networking groups that we're both in. But yeah, we're essentially a lead generation and marketing platform to do off-market deals. Really focused on real estate data, taking that to the next level. So my role is partnerships broadly. So team up with a lot of folks who we can come in and help people learn about how to use the tool, how to help go do off-market deals, whether you're using DealMachine or not. Like really kind of try to play that educator type role, and love doing that. And appreciate you coming on. You have me on for platforms like this to be able to kind of talk about anything in that realm. So
I'm excited about that too. And I think this is a cool platform for DealMachine to, like, I'm curious to see, I've heard that you guys have done a lot towards the more experienced investor recently, which is a little different because for a time it was mostly like, hey, I'm getting into real estate. But those are most of your customers, right?
Yeah.
They probably are by number still.
For sure.
But you guys have launched some pretty interesting new products in the data and AI space recently, which I want to learn a little bit more about. But that said, let's start with this question. What is let's talk data. So in this realm of data, what is the average investor doing wrong, in your opinion?
Yeah. So, and I do love the context to that question as well as like the, how we've kind of evolved over time too. Cause you're absolutely right. Where we were, originally known as like the Driving for Dollars app, which is great. It's a must have for the newbie. It's great because a lot of people, that's how they do their first deal. We've had over 10,000 coming up on 15,000 deals done using DealMachine. And we've been around since 2016. So we've really evolved quite a bit. Where that was kind of where we started, was kind of catering to that newbie around like, hey, great, go out and drive for dollars. Over time, we've really evolved into this real estate data platform where, yes, there's, Drive for Dollars is one piece, but from a standpoint of like what the average real estate investor could be improving, it's coming in there and understanding, okay, how do we go in and identify a list of leads by using data in a smart way, building a list that we're trying to find that niche intersection where it's a list that has a high enough intent based on, the data points we're putting in there and the size of the list, that you've got deals in that list, right? That you've got opportunities in there. But it's also, we see really commonly people spread themselves a little too thin and really, go for such a large size of opportunities that they are not getting in, their marketing isn't being executed on it. They're not getting out there and getting in front of that individual enough times or staying top of mind effectively enough where they actually are doing deals from it, or they're missing out on a lot of those opportunities because their marketing strategy can't keep up with their list size. So that's something just in general, we're always trying to improve. Okay, how can we use data and use different tools to really hone in on the leads that matter most and help you focus on the highest priority opportunities, rather than just going out there saying, great, I'm going to, do this and that and kind of go for it all, and be a little more thoughtful and strategic with it using that data.
Yeah, I'm 100% for that. Although I will say that as it relates to just getting better at targeting with data for the purpose of finding off-market properties, it seems like people have been doing that for a minute. In your opinion, how do you guys help somebody do that differently than they probably already are doing with all the other data brokers or the predictive lists that are available?
Yeah, so I'd say a couple things. Just from a data standpoint, what we would really consider ourselves unique in is that you're finding this intersection of property data. Yes, that's great. Like, that's table stakes really at this point for any kind of platform in our space. Contact information, which that is an area that we really feel like we have we've really tried to shift the industry there. Like about a year ago, we launched unlimited free skip tracing, which means every single lead you add in DealMachine, you get phone numbers, you get emails, you get everything you need to get in touch with that person. included with your subscription. And that was the thing that really perked up, especially the more advanced people, really perked them up because they're spending hundreds, if not thousands a month on that alone, on, paying for 10 cents a pop per address, right? And it was something that we knew if we are going to offer it for free, it's got to be actually quality, right? It's got to be, if it was cheap and free, then and not good quality, they would try it out and then drop us and oh, cool, you get what you pay for, right? For us, our goal was, hey, how do we really supply you with a super, super high quality contact, list and be able to come in and work those leads and save, like our most advanced people, if they're adding 500,000 leads in DealMachine, which is what you can do on our Teams plan right now, that would be like 50 grand to skip trace, right? So you can come in there, and that was like a huge change in the industry for us, was to try to like change how people are paying for data and thinking about data. So it's property data that matters. That's table 6, like I mentioned, which we've got some unique data points there I can talk about, but that's not as big a deal as the contact information. And then finally, it's demographic data too. And when you come into DealMachine, we actually connect. We do what we call contact matching, where we're taking that individual owner. We've got, the person side nailed, and we have the phone numbers attached to those individuals. And then we've got the address of the property. We are matching those, with a process on our end where you can go in and learn more about that individual. And when you make a call to them, you're not just like reaching out cold, things around that, that their buying habits, their, demographic data, do they have a portfolio? Like, a lot about that person going into the call. So that way you are at a significant advantage to ask great questions of that individual and get to their real need, real problem solving for them much more quickly than somebody who just has some property data and are paying for skip tracing and calling. So all of that has been a big change in terms of how we think about data. We did just launch as well a couple weeks ago our corporate skip tracing edition too. So we now have LLC owner match, which that is piping in LLC agents and organizers up to 5 layers deep of LLCs. So now you can go in, and our single family home contact match rate, for example, Brandon, it went from like 70%, 75% nationwide to literally 95% rate of getting contact information for the owners of those. So just wanted to share, like, hey, that's how we're thinking about data, is that intersection in those 3 areas can give you kind of like that unfair advantage in your market. So.
It totally makes sense. Which I think demographic information, like the people-based information, I haven't heard of people using that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, of course, lots of people are skip tracing, but interesting how you've kind of connected this all in one place, so it's easier for people to get to that value versus like this stuff. I'm sure it can be done, but at what cost and what level of complication, right?
Yeah, it's more the convenience of putting it all in one place, that you can take action on it right away. It's going to save you a ton of time. You don't have to learn multiple platforms and different sources. Like, just give it all to you all in one place. And then we've started to layer on other ways to use that data. Like, for example, we just launched as well back in November. We're calling it our AI Vision Builder, but that is something that we're seeing more advanced people use as well, where you can come in now and not just pull a list based on 700 plus data points that we have around the property, but you can actually, we're layering in our AI assistant to take a look visually at the imaging of each property. And so you can look at the satellite imaging and the street view images and say, hey, out of these 1,000 properties, instantly tell me which ones are physically distressed based on these characteristics. So you can literally tell the AI assistant and prompt it and say, look for this and this and this and this. Great, go run that analysis, and on the spot, it'll start to pick those needles out of the haystack based on the imaging of that property. So that's what we mean by like taking it to the next level with that data, making it actionable really quickly.
Yeah, that's wild. I've never
heard
of something quite.
What was that? Sorry.
Cool. Oh, I've never heard of something quite like that. Yeah, that's fascinating. You guys were pretty with in terms of getting that launched from, because the technology being readily available to do that kind of thing isn't that old,
Yeah. It's something like, we got it out there in November. We had a few people jump on it, even that Collective Genius group, a few people jump on it and actually present at the last meeting, talking about like, hey, here's how I'm using it, which was awesome to get that little shout out as well. But it's something like we just want to we're really trying to build our brand as the innovative ones that are consistently evolving and consistently trying to give you, whether it be new data sources, new tools, just kind of that edge in your market, where, even if other people in our space are going to, copy what we're doing or launch something similar that we're, a year ahead or 6 months ahead, or that we're continuing to be that new innovative thing. So that way you have that new marketing method, that new data source, that new tool to reach out and to do deals that other people don't even have access to it nearly as easily. So that's kind of our goal that we've seen, the newbie, yes, like that does matter. It's more base level of like, they just need to go do their first deal, right? Then, it's possible. For the more advanced investor, that's where this really matters, right? Like finding those competitive edges and giving them data in a broader way, giving them, marketing resources like that AI builder, things like that. We've seen the more advanced investor come to us now because we've continued to evolve in that way.
Yeah. Let's talk about AI in the
Mhm.
real estate space. Obviously, if nothing else, it's a giant buzzword.
Right.
You guys are
Sure. Talk about that.
going this direction with, with a few of your products
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. This at least being popular is pretty new. I'm sure we both know AI has been around for a long time.
Right.
But it's
Of
crazy.
course.
Language models specifically, how much they've evolved recently and become more
Mhm.
useful. So I'm curious to hear from you,
Mhm.
in your opinion, what are the actual practical use cases of AI in this industry that you're seeing most helpful now? And then also looking forward, where do you see that going?
Yeah. And great question, because it's something we're always debating, because no matter what industry, every technology is like, we're AI this, we're AI that now. Like it's a very easy buzzword to slap on there and make something more attractive. Whereas the utility of what that AI is doing can be debated, right? So for us, we're really trying to be intentional about, okay, how can, we see this as the future of software. How do we, position ourselves as a leader in this, really give you guys things that actually are going to have utility to it and just save you a ton of time and make you more effective at doing more deals, like what really matters, right? And we've come up with a couple different ways initially to be able to do that. I know we see it evolving in the future in terms of it's getting more effective at, any prompt you give it, it's getting better and better at that with each future model. And also it's getting cheaper, which is awesome for the consumer. Like your guys are going to be able to see the vision builder, for example. We put it out there and it was something we had been talking about for a while. Like, can we build a natural language list builder? Can we have AI analyze deals just based on words we're using for it? That was in theory something we've been thinking about for a while, but it wasn't actually possible until the model was good enough and effective enough at that, and also cheap enough that it would make sense that someone would come in and want to actually do that, right? And so we see it continuing to get more powerful and cheaper, so it's more accessible to everybody to actually really leverage. And the utility is what we're focused on with that. So for example, over the summer, we launched our AI powered dialer. I don't know if you've seen that yet, Brandon. That's something we launched. Yeah, it was like 6 months ago, not even. With the unlimited free skip tracing, the phone numbers, the number one request we kept getting was, hey, great. We love that we have all these now. Help us actually reach out. We don't want to keep exporting them and having to learn another platform and import them in there and pay for that platform and pay for a number. Like that whole process was rough for people. And so we instituted a click to call inside DealMachine. You literally hover over the number, hit call, and it goes. And the AI pieces to it are, one, the AI is actually transcribing the call for you in real time. So you'll see, here's what Brandon said, here's what Matt said. It'll go down the screen for you right there. It'll do sentiment analysis. So after the call, it'll tell you, hey, that was a warm lead, or hey, they told you to take them off the list, or it'll kind of give you suggested follow-up based on the sentiment analysis of the call. And then the coolest part, I think, is within it, you can actually use it as kind of a real-time sales, I don't know if coach is the right word, but assistant, where there's a button in there that uses the AI and it says, what do I say next? You click on the AI assistant, and what it's doing is you can upload a script or you can use our default, settings. It'll take the context of what you're dealing with, what objection you're dealing with, where you're at in the conversation with the seller. It'll use that as the prompt. It'll use all the data as the prompt, right? All this data that like a chat GPT wouldn't have access to. We do, right? So it's feeding off that. And then it's using all that combined to give you contextually, hey, maybe take the conversation this way, or maybe ask this question. It'll in real time give you that guidance. And that's where we're talking about utility. Like that is something that is actually useful versus, oh, AI told me this is a good lead based on some black box formula, right? It's like, hey, we want to give you real tools to help you be more effective, save more time, do things. Even the AI vision builder, like it is very objective of what it's doing. It's scoring that based on the appearance of the property, not kind of a black box formula, right? So that's what we mean by trying to find those ways that AI can make you just a super productivity tool, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's fascinating. I remember probably 7 years ago now, I watched like some video from some like higher up person within Google. I can't even remember who they are. This is horrible justice to their credit about AI. And they're going to talk about like how do they see AI like evolving the Google and stuff like that, which in hindsight was not super often discussed at that time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But what he said, which I thought was interesting, which I feel like was true and is true and is becoming less true, was AI is more like a million interns than a single super genius.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what he means by that is like it has the ability to like, let's just say we're looking at houses, we're looking at images of houses to say like, is this house in good condition or not in good condition? It's like an army that can tackle that problem where you just imagine a bunch of interns like chipping away at that. But it's crazy how like having all of that context does make it pretty smart. And some of these applications, like you talked about, like being able to coach where to go in the call next, definitely starts to realm and starts to bring us to that realm of more of a super genius than just.
Well, here's the thing though, too, is in the end, like people are going to do business with people they like, know, and trust. And so there is that human element too, that we think, our goal with the AI isn't to completely replace the person. It's more, hey, how can we make you so effective you're doing the job of 10 people, right? Or like you are as effective as a team, where you've got, like you said, instead of having to hire, even like you said, a VA or someone who's doing the more like systematizable things, how do we continue to build that foundation so you can level up the problems that you're working on and you're solving every day, and have them do the foundational stuff? And really, any new technology, it's like that new technology is solving an old problem and inventing a new problem. So it's like, okay, great. Let's figure out how can we level up our problems we're solving and let the AI take care of the more productivity focused stuff. So.
Well, 100%. I think it's really neat, and I'm glad there's companies like you that are trying to figure this stuff out. And that's awesome. You guys are coming out with so many products. So thank you, Matt, for your time today. This was cool. I learned a lot about what you guys are up to. Any last words that you leave with the audience?
No, I'm again, like, it's been awesome to see how we've been able to really kind of solve problems for people who are the more advanced investor and team like that now too. It's something we're always working on solving that. So that's something where I want to always be a resource for people. If anyone ever wants like strategy advice on how to go find off market deals, like I love to be able to chat with them and be able to give them advice on what we're seeing worked in today's market. We want to be a tool that's intuitive and simple enough for the newbie, but also advanced enough that if you have a bigger team, you can come in and use it in all these other more advanced ways. So always happy to like have conversations and give advice there. But otherwise, man, it's fun to be on here. Excited to team up with you guys more. And I think we can really solve a lot of problems together in a complementary way for these more advanced investors here too. So yeah, it's excited to be on, man.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. If anybody wants to learn more about any of the stuff you talked about today, what's the best path forward?
Yeah, actually, I can just share my email, because if you just want to reach out direct, I'm happy to help out. Just Matt, MATT @DealMachine.com. Reach out and just mention this, you heard me on the podcast, and I'm happy to go through kind of a strategy call with you and be helpful on my end. So
very cool. All right. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you a ton. And for everybody else listening, I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Brandon.